The janitor of the school got no sweet peaches, just the bullet to his head that dropped him. It distracted the children from their own pain for a time. If people knew that she had loaded them all, including the janitor, into the truck by herself, they would be amazed at her strength. She was sore for days, though she is not one to complain. No one passed her on the road as she drove them to the slow brown river that floated them all gently to the lake, where they drifted in arrangements and combinations that told stories even she is not privy to. The janitor she buried in the woods. Now she walks up the rain-soaked path. It is the last visit she must make. One mother slapped her face when she apologized. It was, after all, she who had asked the janitor to bring them home. The sting of it was delicious and unexpected.
Thanks, Julie. I have been requested to ask that no flash photography happen. You can open your aperture a little bit. You can sit still for. Okay. Dean Knight is a regional stage actor whose roles include Tregorian in The Seagull, Reverend Paris in The Crucible, Chris Keller in All My Sons, Albany in King Lear, and Clarence and Ratcliffe in Richard III. His story Target will appear in Richmond Macabre 2, More Nightmares. And now evidence box number 10, section 39, 1939.
The building had been condemned and left to rot in its squalid corner of the city. Baltimore's cycles of death and rebirth had bypassed the place altogether, and still the smell and feel of industry lingered like old sweat slathered on steel rails glistening in the sun. But for a brief slice of time, right when the Second World War erupted and then settled into a weird, jittery pseudo-calm, the old building came to life again. There were mutterings around the waterfront about what was happening there. Some said there were political gatherings rife with passionate orations on the European situation. Others made dark reference to some deeper kind of contest or ritual. I was at the age when I wanted a cataclysm. The war in Europe was like a leering, bloodthirsty mistress waiting to extend her inviting finger to me. But though I was willing, that invitation was not yet forthcoming, and so I found myself at that building late one night when there was no other movement except the Mayflower cabs depositing their passengers and then gliding away. As I pushed open the battered steel door and stepped into the building, I could feel my body buzzing with a static electricity on the verge of discharge. We all stood in the cold lobby. We didn't know each other, but we knew we all shared something within ourselves that had brought us to this place. I could feel the same kind of electricity that was charging through and now out of my body, emanating from them into the room and into me and into time and space. There appeared among us a figure draped in a many-colored cloak. His face was covered with a plain white mask that seemed to shine in the murky air around us, a beacon of sinister banality. His slender, gloved hand dealt out to each of us a strange sort of playing card. Guided by an unknown force, I seemed to float down the hallway as though I was drugged, past several doors and into a room marked with brass plates, section and 39. I looked down at the card in my hand. It showed the number 13 encircled by a kind of military